as you know, Mexico is a country which is right next to a very big body of water, which is covered in a bunch of islands that were gradually discovered just after the rediscovery of the Americas. And well, it's a big body of water, and a lot of people had to make maps on that. So they did that gradually along like the centuries. So from the 16th to 20th century, a lot of people took boats and made maps of that. But sometimes some of these islands are slightly less corroborated, and one of these islands is the one that we're looking at now on these two maps. So it's called the Islote Bermeja, and I'm butchering that, I know. Have you ever heard of that, either of you?
I have not because I try to avoid Spanish like the plague, which it was one day. So
I think the coast area is kind of known because of colonial time and gold, but nothing more than that.
Right, right. So, like I said, there were a bunch of little islands around this coast, and they mapped them out and they put them on a map, but not a lot of people actually visited them because a bunch of them were just rocks in the middle of the ocean, just very tiny, teeny little dots. One of these islands that nobody bothered to verify for a long time was called Islote Bermeja. And this island was on maps until, I think, begin 20th century. It was just there on most maps. And then at some point, they just forgot about it and didn't care about it until at one point it became relevant again. Because, as you might know, the Gulf of Mexico is filled with a bunch of oil. And one of these places called do I do the Spanish one? Hayas, oh no, actually, no, it's called the Donut Holes in English. I'm not going to try that. So this place called the Donut Holes is a lot of oil. And there was a bit of a dispute in 1997 between the US and Mexico about who gets the rights to exploit this oil. Mexico looked at a bunch of old maps and realized, wait, there's this island on these maps. And if that island is actually there, it's our island. And that means that we get to exploit a whole bunch of area around it. So they tried to find it. And what do you know? It wasn't there. They couldn't find it. They tried to find it a whole bunch. They actually put a lot of resources into it because they really wanted to get to that oil, but they couldn't find it. So what happened to that island is the question. What do you think, Felix?
Well, so just to be sure, they thought there was an island. So there was information in the battle between the US and Mexico about this area, and then they thought we've got an island over there, and then they were looking for the island, and there was no island over there.
And it wasn't there, and there was no island. So the island was mapped first in the 16th century somewhere, and it did. There are some corroborations of it, but not a lot of people actually went there. Like I said, it wasn't really an important place. It was really small. So they didn't actually bother to check it for a long time. They just forgot about it.
Okay. Well, probably I would think that the people that would have found that island in the 16th century, they put it down, and then probably it's going to be in a different island, like kilometers away. Probably that would be my first instinct.
So a cartography mistake,
Yeah.
which is some kind of error from card makers. That is possible, but have you considered the more explosive option, in which, in which the US, as you know, is a country with a lot of military power and also a lot of intelligence power. So they would know if that island was there. So, and they would also probably know that that oil is there a lot earlier than Mexico would, right? Because their agencies are a lot more on point than Mexico's. So let's just theorize that the US saw this little rock, this lump of rock, and thought that's really going to ruin our income. So what do?
Well, let's blow it up.
That's right. They bombed the shit out of it. Exactly.
I love this. I haven't heard of this one before. I love how you dug this one up on.
They actually tried to find it again in 2008, the Mexican government, and they could not. It's just not there anymore. If it ever was, there's really no conclusive evidence to show anything. And, well, I mean, the US does stand to benefit from this really tiny rock not being there.
I mean, I always say just follow the money, right? That's where the answer goes, right?
Yeah. So actually, does the United States have that area now to kind of exploit or not?
Well, the thing is, they don't have the full area because they did have a dispute, and I think they did have to settle it with Mexico. But due to the whole UN Law of the Sea
Uh-huh.
convention, if that island had been there, Mexico would have had a much stronger claim because it extends your exclusive economic zone. For the audience that don't know that much about the UN Law of the Sea, if you've got a little bit of land somewhere, all everything around that, all the water around that, is also technically part of your territory, and you get to get all of the stuff that is in the ground of that place. So getting that island would have been really nice for Mexico because that would have been a lot of oil money.
Yeah. Are you going to ask us now how much we believe this is a conspiracy or just in cartography oversight? Because normally
Well,
I'm the one to do that, so I wanted to
yes.
hear.
Well, I so what do you think? What do you think, Simon? First,
I thought a nerve you asked. I'm definitely going to explosive option. It's a small island, and bombing tests and bombing targets, they were in high demand back in those days. They had a war to fight in Vietnam. Why not test a bomb and put it to use at the same time? That's
do
all
you
I
think
say.
did you think that maybe they hydrogen bombed it?
I thought that was what you were going with initially when I'm like, oh, did they use it for a nuclear test
Oh,
site accidentally?
I should have gone for a nuclear option. Damn it! All right.
Yeah. But I think that would have been noticed. At least I hope that would have been
Yeah.
noticed by the Mexicans.
Yeah.
But
Anyway, Felix, how plausible do you think this is?
Well, it's going to be the first that I'm going to say that I have to agree with Simon in a way. A follow the money will probably be one of the biggest arguments to make this more plausible. But I reckon that even the states, they weren't. Well, I would like to believe that the states weren't that involved yet, or weren't that interested as well, and that Mexico dug up an old map of that area and thought, oh, we could possibly claim to it, and eventually it was not there. It was a mistake. As I just said, that someone made a mistake in 16th century. So I'll probably stick to that. Um,
Hmm.
but if there would be a lead of money or following the money, I could definitely see the point of the Americans that have bombed it. That's for sure.
I mean, this is 1997. It's just before the internet is really kicking off big time, and the US is riding high that wave of having won the Cold War. So who knows?
Yeah, true.
what I want to know is why the Mexicans just didn't pretend the island actually existed.
Well, they tried, but in order to pretend an island exists, you actually have to show that it exists,
I guess so.
which
I
is going to
guess
be
so.
hard if there's nothing there.
True. Yeah, I guess the onus falls on them a little, but
It does. The burden of proof.